Dola benje sanje ndo bara sho sanje jedan zoje zonam la chanjo bardo dane gyabzonje dage jin soje be zonam je dola benje sanje ndo bara sanje jedan zoje zonam la chanjo bardo dane gyabzonje Dage jinso jebe sonam je dola benje sanje do parasho. Now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. From now until enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all.
Kange tujingi zungwa tawa tamze pambe chire tambe chune tamze be kodam te la cha Niyata Jirambuche Lamchunala Nelu to Beshera Milana Nenju Janjisan Kojike Sibitawa Chupermini Fijil Sendel to Betablambe, the Sonris, Tate Karsona, One Chetam Cheki Nelu Yang Tapade Zamotombani Oda Tichariore Di and Be Kaje Tango Koa Chaju, Jajistamji Koa Chaju Koa de and Be Deci tunji like tunji de la sonanto soni monsum to taete rawa kebaya to schene tinji cheba yena ani korale trotugure te mada chanju gi semda thap gi chani nyamnen khatsa je zaboina ani pe ji 탐색 캠바다 파저 트라파자에 두고 말해서 순거래 때 인디가라 ngaran to tanda 시지대 때가 랩티어데 시부지게 전부 차디어레스 자모통방이 생인데
In the short text by Lama Tsongkhapa, the three principal aspects of the path, Tsongkhapa mentioned that there's a verse on emptiness, the third principal path. If you do not have the wisdom realizing the ultimate nature, even if you gain familiarity with renunciation and awakening mind, you will not be able to cut the root of samsaric existence. So strive in the means of realizing dependent origination. So here he's talking about the importance of emptiness or understanding of dependent origination concept. And so this dependent origination or emptiness, which is currently we are studying in this section of the text. First we start from listening to the teachings, what we call generic sound or voice, and then we translate or we kind of develop that into understanding of the meaning, and then we work further on that meaning until we gain some kind of experiential realizations, and through that process ultimately we can free ourselves from cyclic existence. Otherwise, as Lama Tsongkhapa mentioned here, without the wisdom or dependent origination, it doesn't matter how much you are familiar, how much you gain familiarity, or how a profound renunciation and awakening mind that you have, you will never be able to free from cyclic existence or samsara, let alone attaining enlightenment. So therefore, he emphasized the importance of understanding of this emptiness or dependent origination.
Tematen do koronala do dipinala yare shera mena mime parol chingadi mibu meber chanjuna ngone mine binyande da tarbada tamje kimbe kobanji tobar cheballa sherabji mi zamotombani ene pe tobe nilu tobe sherabji mi ji mena ene pe parjin lamang adak yobayina ene be 직 바기 탐제 김be 고발라 타바다 탐제 김be 고발라 로투 마르서 타치는 송레스.
The same was also mentioned in the Buddha's own sutra, this brief sutra or short sutra. In that, Buddha mentioned that without having the eye of wisdom, which he refers to the understanding of emptiness, one won't be able to, attain liberation as well as enlightenment. Even having a practice of those other 6 practices of perfections.
어디 준주 놀란도아 시럽 길리가라. 옛날에다 탐제네 투비 시럽 돈도 숭용도가라. 오늘 시럽 기미게 단답에 다 준주 놀라 바이 샘게 바이 띵물라 바기 가르소 류뒤 숭사래. 숭사다 퍼진 엄마 퍼진 되기디 숭과에 가르치는 숭르나 시럽기 민제베 돈달라니페 마마티게 숭르 제 숭은도가라다 되기디 시럽기 미기 일라존의 지도 숭르 제 숭은도가라 소소데 나랑조 코로발레 쫄람데 오니 동이도 비시럽데 차데요레 디게 돈달라 아니 퍼진 마마티게 될 냠는지네 아니 미 소남사 직 튠켄 pungi chosa baskudo alamrim nala galken divajum ba tingen pungi chosa bade tab bagi jimbe farjini tingding farjin pordu chik galken divajum anda tingen pungi chosa ya dechi di jene eni sherab gi min jene korwal trolam de ngoma de ta soni to bel tabade chari yore donta de inde kabu shibijire de kabu re de kabu duze maja jene eni kaso tuptu chinga su ngaraina 거뒤나 되게 돌아 삼단 되거든. 오다 가고 싶으시래. 여름에 삼들 디가라 가고도 숨도. 근데 인당 아주 전지다. 레와자 거라요. 요 말이 즉 뭐니 이 여름에 숨 나진지 전에 배 삼선을 빼자자 전부터는 거 그는 몰람지게나 가와 정보를 소면은 일일대 세존데 전에 또 가서 뚝뚝지다. 아주 내전지가 꽤 전부 차디어레. 삼거도
Also in the Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, when he begins, final chapter on wisdom, he starts that chapter saying that all of these practices were taught by the Mighty One for the sake of wisdom, and Shantideva's book, which talks about practices of bodhisattvas, the 6 practices of perfections. All previous 5 practices of perfections were taught by Buddha for the sake of the 6th one, which is the wisdom or intelligence. And therefore, in Shantideva's book, we see kind of wisdom as most important point. Others being more kind of subordinate. In the practices of lamrim or stages of path, we talk about gathering factors and conditions, or accumulations of positive merits on the one hand, and on the other hand, purifications of all obstacles. And those 2 were done by or through the practices of previous 6 practices of perfections. But the main the practice that is needed for ultimate enlightenment, or you can say the real practice, is the gaining of wisdom or intelligence itself. And so as we have been saying in the earlier classes, the section that we are dealing with is very profound, complicated, difficult concept to understand. However, despite that, we should be doing our best. Gajala said he is doing his best to kind of read and understand at his best and share with us. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama also talk about how kind of important this section of the part of the text, and also how complicated and difficult is. And we have common expressions saying that even without having a real tooth, just chewing with your gum, just doing your best to kind of get and extract whatever you can.
어디 드럼 뭐마들이세요 거기 유전에 가르친 드럼 레시피가라 맞아 칭제대 코로네 칭제대 단지 말이 받자래 대나나 리뱅갈들 기베 랭키 그 말이 봐 세야다 따뜻 차려래 딜랑 뭐마 능인데 동이 또 베셔랍도 마도 젠다 젠요 말에 딘디가라 코 나와도 문바나지네 나와 아니페 문바케 버쳐발라 살차 나와지 맨나 문바케 두야요 말봐 왔다 때나진지 나랑서 머리 비칭달에 돌아와라 동이 또 베셔랍데 시부진네 전부 잡아라 딘디 졸람 무마르 쓰고데 유센테 두고 와레스.
And this understanding of emptiness we call, a real path that can free us or liberate us from, suffering. And when we look at the root cause of the suffering and rebirth cycle in the cyclic existence, it is we are, binded or we are tied up by the self-grasping, thought. The exact opposite of that thought, very kind of chain, is the wisdom realizing emptiness. So wisdom realizing emptiness becomes, in metaphor, it's the light that dispels the darkness.
딘디 이걸 따들이 고도 사바 망보지도 가보 쉬우지 지단에 가보지 결혼도 남배중 마마를 빼절로 덴데다 또서 냠뇽이 겨지는 오늘 뱅그레 있으러와 때마다 빼 가버래 단다가 가서 될래 뛰어라 가서 딘디라 다 가르치고 그래 말이 빠시디가라 단지 말이 봐서 아 나진 랭키 초톱도 파기니 요하나지 낭줄 날 간지 토나 낭줄 파기니 옆에서 이제 마도 위켄 망불을 때는 좀 봐라 꼬라 빠지나 위켄 망불을 때는 좀 되긴 소리지 마수 통과 말했어 딘데위 낭술 띠기 마수 따베 풍버치고 그래 띠기 나 생간진지 간진 왕이 ngariwache ngariwa wangi nyomonchi nyomonge lesa lewang lengampasa tam megele di wange ni korwa kortul chigores dindigala tindawa nangsul teta chikaji nangsul di shiagi tablamji tisungores.
And today Geshe is saying that we have several kind of newcomers, and you came at the right time, one of the most difficult part of the text. And so those who have been coming to teachings regularly and those who have some idea about Buddhism, you know what we are talking about here. In general, when we look at the root cause of the cyclic existence, in Buddhist understanding, we point to self-grasping ignorant mind or self-grasping ignorance. And the general understanding here is that this is a distorted view of our own kind of understanding of ourself or of self or person. When we think about self or person or I, the appearance of that I or understanding of that I to us is that I or self or person exists kind of independently, inherently, having a true existence, without anything to do with factor and causes and conditions. And that is how I or self appear to us. However, that is complete kind of distortion. That's a wrong view of a true understanding of I or self or person. And because of that distorted view of self, it generates what we call grasping to self. And grasping to self generates me and mine. And through that we create the karmic actions. And those negative karmic actions kind of generates negative results, and therefore that kind of bind us in this cycle of samsara, cyclic existence. So we keep taking rebirth again and again without kind of liberating ourselves from that cycle. And so but here the point is that we need to at least to understand what is reality as opposed to what is appearance of reality to us.
어떤 두신들라 남페 중알이나 유대kel레스네 tumdengi 대화이나 유대kel레스네 tumdengi 같이 시고 위두디 라랑기 자주 왕기 아니 대화도 중알신데 rangi chacho wangi yonkyolo maso pe yu mebaje ene pe rewada dungal singni yo mare e yu tabajile tuguma kig mare yu midaba yu de ene pe rangi pe bagi nibadal dem sumbaji dala ene pe rewada dungal se de jagore je jinde dungal te ngazuti yu de kape sopki ene dungal zeji de mete kachite shene wata yu de kape somni ene divu dungal de kela ene dungal zebe zechaji me kachite shigore zechadi yona zechada kandijinda wada lam digiti nyamlin chene dungal de zigiri se chigala chi denji korane sunyon digala denji tangpuni di korwala jujegi yundingi di che denji tamani di korwala dojegi yundingi di che to tollamse de toljegi yundingi di che digala kanche yugel mate vejita pe nambe goni kasheji de yomares digala sabat tat 제바이나 단다 돌람 털도 대투디 어때 인도 내 전부 차디 그랬어.
So in Buddhist understanding, whether it is suffering or happiness, both of these two are, both of these two depends on cause, factors, and conditions, and in our own case, it depends on our action, and there is no happiness or there is no suffering end result without preceded by causes or seed, and there is no cause and seed which is permanent. The permanent cause and seed cannot yield a result. By nature, there has to be impermanent, and so both happiness and suffering must have seed, must have causes, and here, one perspective of understanding is that is there any way that we can stop or eliminate suffering from its very root, and with that kind of cessation of the seed of suffering and the cause of suffering, we can we can attain the result of happiness. Or one way, another way of saying is that we can attain that complete cessation of suffering and its causes. So that kind of state is something that is attainable. It is possible, and since that is possible, therefore it is possible. There are method and path through which we can attain that kind of cessation, and the one and this understanding of emptiness or dependent origination concept or philosophy is one such method and practice through which we can attain the end result of this cessation. And we find the same understanding when we look at the very fundamental Buddhist understanding of the teachings on Four Noble Truths. When we look at the Four Noble Truths, the first true noble truth, true suffering, that cause and effect talks about it is a cause and effect about or on how we kind of fall into cyclic existence. And the second true set, cause and effect, again in the Four Noble Truths, true cessation and true path. These two talks about how we free ourselves from cyclic existence, or how we cease suffering and its causes. So in the Four Noble Truths, we see kind of twofold cause and effect, and so this is a kind of very general understanding which might be helpful for the newcomers today.
Wata tin digala ta chetam je nilu siade chik che kanji ti tumo ibata nilu wama de ta nambe gonjina tongyi side nangdu yin ki tongwa sidigala ngana sun nangsu tel teme khengi yobaji nangyor tena jinji yomare ze sundigala ta ngone bagi sududu dube ngan zimbadela tenden samne 보고다나 이 tenden nganzin 시기어서 송도아 진술데 때네 시두에 자고래 돈다 얼마서 가서 낭 딘더에 짐바데 짐바네 베 시구거래 짐만 하신 좀 시에 톱다 오거 디 시에 톱 용야라 다직 뭐네 가사가 다음에 리피트비야 주기 다음에 리피트비야 어서 teniki 다 동이 덮치기 리바테도 다도 수지네 디 털도 된 거랑 좀 낭줄도 시야 그돈 다데 낭줄도 마시나 되게 공도 주주나네 동안 연구하래 낭줄도 시나 대왕기 레디 사고 말에 랭안바데 마사나 디부둥알 된 녀아요 말에 이니 대화신디 두야라 대화세야데 지 오늘 가서 타르바시나 탐제 캠비 고fan세 타르바시데 레드 뉴몽 비치왈레 타르바지 지야고래 심기 연된지 지야고래
The ultimate reality of all phenomena or all things in Buddhism, and the very kind of unique ultimate nature or reality in Buddhist understanding is, as we are talking right now, emptiness. One way of saying here is that emptiness, understanding of emptiness, is to help us destroy our wrong, kind of mode of apprehension of how things exist out there. And because we have this, wrong apprehension of how things exist, as we were saying before, when we look out, things exist independently, objectively, inherently, intrinsically, self-sufficiently, without anything to do with other entities. However, that is not the case. When you look closely, everything is dependent originated, dependent arising. So in this understanding of emptiness, we try to build up this, a knowledge in a such way that we destroy that same, wrong apprehension that we have of the reality. And coming to that kind of understanding is not easy, definitely. So, therefore, we rely upon many different logical approaches, such as, understanding of when you break down, emptiness, we break down into selflessness of person, selflessness of phenomena. So these are the different logical reasoning or approaches that we try to come to the understanding of emptiness or reality of how things exist out there. The problem here is that if we always kind of remain with that kind of wrong, distorted understanding of reality, then we are living with the cause of our own suffering. That distorted view, as mentioned before, generates negative karmic action. Negative karmic action results unhappiness and suffering and problems that we so don't want. On the other hand, if we manage to understand, reality of phenomena in real sense, we don't have that kind of distorted view, wrong mode of understanding. So with the proper kind of apprehension or proper understanding of reality, we won't be following any of those kind of distorted action, and therefore no suffering, and another way of saying is that there will be kind of genuine happiness, that will lead to ultimate attainment of liberation or nirvana. So here, when we say liberation or freedom or nirvana, it is nothing other than the state of mind which is completely free from karmic action and ignorance or delusions.
오다 된다고 tarwa tuya기 lamde 노야라다 니줄때기디 고구와래 간지 가나서 디 인디갈라다 카산디는 말라바이나 다 텔라 다메베 타와텐 람바툴라스 다메바니 텔 람바페 코림 다 주기 다메다 간사 다메 시고래 오다 직 마부지 센데나 고톰라레 오다 주기 다메 시디갈라 다 우마탄기웨 루디지 아질리 파준데나 디야그레 인디갈라 가지고니 개발이요 말에 동지고니 개발 차서다 가자 터라 직바 직냐래 지 가자게 상도 아니 저기 나랑도 난 가자 진진 렘버진바데 까나 된다에 짐발타도 머주바데 가자게 다메다 지 풍소담 최전기 상도 아니 가자 진진데 까나 가자게 다메 짐바데 가자게 단진 취기 단진 아니 디다메 버진데 짐바데 가자게 다메 다도 시네 간시 동시군이 개발마도 동시 최진군이 개발마도 아니 가치군이 개발 균이면 차소래 이 가자 차라 찍바 차소래 그까지 치고래스
We will continue with the reading. The text, if you have a same book, it's on page 120. Middle of the page, the way to determine the true way of selflessness, which is the emptiness. So in Buddhist understanding, in order to attain liberation or enlightenment, we must know this reality. We must know this path. We need to understand it. There's no other option. So therefore, we are studying this basically. So the way to determine the view of selflessness. This includes the order for establishing the true selflessnesses and actual techniques for establishing the view of selflessness. Selflessness of person and selflessness of phenomena. Those are the two. And again, there are many different interpretations by what is selflessness of person and of phenomena by different school of thoughts in Buddhism, in Buddhist philosophy. And here, as we have been saying earlier, we will base on the philosophy of higher school of thoughts, that is middle way consequent school, Prasangika school. So according to middle way consequent school, their interpretation is that there is no differences at all from the perspective of objective negation, what you are going to negate. There's no differences at all. The only differences is the differences arises or comes from the foundation or the basis. So if you are negating true existence or inherent existence on the person or self, that is what we call selflessness of person. So if you are negating or refuting independent intrinsic existence on any phenomena other than self or person, and those were considered as a selflessness of phenomena.
당분이 가자 당분이 지 가자 당 풍소소 취기상도 미규달라 나르셰발다 타라가 남자 준세게 메메스 가시고니 타라 준세게 요마레스 가지 타라기 왕기 답 동시 왕기 네칼라 여테스 델터 레치소 가자 로율도 차와테 풍부 중화라 뛰고비 유생기 다유기 넘버 리포트 바이올라 대서 멜로나도 서베 중년당 붐소 소기 상도 텔남바베 가찰라 타라 준세게 메메 가시 루자투 차르칼레 왕기 데메투 네칼라 요파타 라오스 타 바기 가 가르소 다시 풍소가 상도 타 하나 순리자 미 간데지 나용도 갈라 미 풍부 나와라 미데 통송 미디 디지기도 슬러거와 어다 덴디기 왕기 직 푸고 풍부디 미 다시 삼저 마도 앞에 디 가르소르다 디레요 말데 디다 니센 당일라 미디 풍부 통하라 미디 통하던 자국 저거래 언제 디 대삼지기 가르소르다 하기 가자다 수술은 네깔라 된대요래 지 땅 나오년빙 딱 말라고 왔다 가르소래 된다왜 다시 풍부 아니 배 덴버 매반 나줄 때당 붐소 덴버 매반 나줄 가자 가서 찍빠 찍냐 그랬대 로라 철술라 네 갈라 텐데 요르스 때 순거래
Page 120, the order for establishing the true selflessness. So in terms of understanding selflessness of a person and selflessness of phenomena, there is a differences. Understanding of selflessness of a person, selflessness on yourself is much more kind of sort of easier as compared to selflessness of other phenomena. Firstly, as explained above, although there is not the slightest difference in subtlety regarding the self, which does not exist in phenomena, whether the basis is the person or the mental and physical aggregates, because of a difference in subtlety in the basis of negation, there is a difference of ease in ascertaining the view. It is like this: in order for a person such as a Devadatta to appear as an object to our minds, we have to depend on apprehending his aggregates. So his imputed existence can be established through reason. What this is saying is that, in our conventional understanding, when we say, "Oh, I saw you," that person, what we are saying is that we are saying that based on seeing that person's body, that person's aggregate, but that person's body is not that person, but that is, however, that's conventionally that's how we use it, and we all agree on that, and therefore we identify somebody as seeing. When we saw that body, we say, "Oh, I saw that person." So that is more easier for us because we are, related to. That's our own first-hand experiences as compared to understanding of selflessness of totally different phenomena out there. So there is a differences because of a difference in subtlety in the basis of negation. There is a difference of ease in ascertaining the views because of the differences of the basis itself. One being our own body, another being other phenomena. There's differences in kind of the level of understanding. One is much more easier than another. It is like this: in order for a person such as Devadatta to appear as an object to our minds, we have to depend on apprehending his aggregates. So his imputed existence can be established through reason. Thus, there is not the slightest difference in subtlety with regard to what is negated in establishing the selflessness of phenomena, such as an image reflected in a mirror, a vase, or a piece of cloth. However, because it is easier for some basis of negation to appear to our minds, such as our own persons compared to other phenomena, it is correspondingly easier or more difficult to ascertain selflessness.
대야 셔럽기 바로도 침바 두발레스 다안다 진더 텐더 심전 탐제시 심전 탐제 진더 텐더 추군시 당보 라데메투 애니 추젠 데메 두이나 zembarme paane bezen tubiala lela yore se sungware ani kaje rang zeme tune kaje sheba zeme jitu thune thubeina di sange zinjin kena nyumong nikela phingirwa kemgormu je sungdo pumba zeme kena ani nyumong khetgu martas kaje nga zembarme pata sheba zembarme pa jitu thubeina di wang ani pe zinjin le nugri ne tenden sungdo chi zeme tubia nang shi yi zeme tubia ne na shi yi zeme tubia de ne chein sare di sungyo ka kanje 군진 자야집에 퍼진 타죠 임바요 제나라 송야래 아니 시바 데메 투나 아니 베체 탐지기 데메 또 두그리 또 투바마다 답에 냥데 두지기 네디 디네 땐 두그리서 계속 송도와 보다 되게 시분네 첨버 가제 오만 주베나 지시 풍본진 여바 데시들랑 알지 송도와 풍부 지시 풍부 냄브런데 마든지 여바 데시도 우만 주바 말다 우만 지갑에나 지시 풍부는 여바 데시들랑 알지 얘네 양레도 대외에는 농어를 주르세 송도가라 풍부 냄브런데 마든지 여바 데시도 나냐벨레 직 말진레 키디키 대왕게 레사 대왕게 아니 코라레 양양도 키그리세 송도가라 다 가지 기 네 깔아요 상대 어때 대가지네 내지 뜬거 그래서 something 이 경고를 이제 nem보 쉬우지 송도 아주 경고를 이제 나이지 저두문도 가보도 와 여기 경고를 이제 송만 보여라 그냥서 떠나는 때 승년다 뺑 오네 경고를 이제 투모만이 받아 리소르기 네 돌려라다 투모만이 받아 베기 그시 개방 아인신다 라마 개방 만 보여라 되겠는 나타 경고를 뭐냐 진지 오네 가버리 인도 통해 수이나 지단에 시줄 망보르딜라 빼비 시줄 망보르 가버리
Page 121. Also, the Condensed Perfection of Wisdom Sutra says, just as you understand selflessness in yourself, understand it similarly in all sentient beings. Just as you understand selflessness in all sentient beings, understand it similarly in all phenomena. As mentioned earlier, first kind of understanding selflessness of yourself or self or person, because that's what we are directly related with. Once we ascertain that, then we can move on to the selflessness of other phenomena. And in His Holiness kind of teachings, he talks about even among kind of selflessness of many different phenomena, selflessness of consciousness, selflessness of this consciousness or thought is more helpful, more meaningful than simply such as understanding of selflessness on a vase or a pot. Understanding of selflessness of pot or vase doesn't directly kind of encounter or doesn't hurt your truth grasping ignorant mind, but however understanding of thought, selflessness of thought or consciousness or mind does it harms the kind of distorted view. In the text or documents of a great master Javan Sherpa, he mentioned that just what His Holiness mentioned before. One can understand the selflessness of all other phenomena through understanding of the selflessness of consciousness or mind, and in that understanding, there is a way to attain realizations or way to attain liberation. So also in the 400 verses by Aryadev, he mentioned that as long as there is a grasping to aggregate this body, one will always kind of take endless rebirth cycle. And so especially having this innate kind of distorted thought that I exist independently, that innate self-grasping, as we mentioned in earlier classes, is the root of cyclic existence. And again here, this concept, as we were saying earlier, it's not kind of easy to understand or easy to get the meaning. And in our time, the best kind of most effective and best way to kind of unfold these complicated philosophical thoughts. For that, you can listen to His Holiness teaching. There are many different teachings available online, and especially kind of teachings on the 6 great, subjects of the, subjects on middle way school. His Holiness teachings are immensely kind of beneficial and helpful in understanding on this kind of topic.
What Temaseval Umanjubena Sumudo, Tambu Nasetala Jingishi, Zakin Dijingola Chayipa, Zuchunchul the Rame in Rola Nijiku Cantelan Tuesday, Zanzi Mari Patape, Linky the Winzin, Sama Chingudwa, Mas Venga, Pumbangarzim, Pumba Zembers and Benzin Degit, Coral Coregi, Lady Sago Marwa, Marians Bengarzin Digi, Coral Corge Lady Sago Marwa.
Also in the middle way text, there's a verse in which they said it. First, there is this self-grasping thought, and because of that self-grasping, it leads to first there's I, and then I leads to mine, ours, and that's how it kind of it starts kind of creations of karmic, unending cycle, and through that we takes continuous rebirth, and on the other hand. And it's just understanding, selflessness of other object other than you. It doesn't really helps, kind of eradicating this distorted view.
Wata digini tuyong gora. Ta nibas zame telam babtul ngwela sum kansa ga zame telam babe suldang chuge zame telam babe sulus ngi kala wangi kansa zame ngula aja. Ei chuge zame jugu jaide ngi kala wangi ta tu siyong gore. telesene kansadang chugun yumar chazulos tat sumche tangbune tela tomar kansa ga zame nguen jinsu nganjin legi miyul kansa do jobani gun twinjing di miyul nyinte deba kaji phumbo ngachar tat ngaran zum dode bene bagini kansa ga chenjilo phumbo ne so samsiadang awta teni bagi phumbo karsa ngachar kansa ge yundu jo chanda teni mo shagora ta te ge sungore 가진이 셈지보당 가진 넘버 리바점기 술마와 군시 잘기 제바 딱 군시 잘기 제바 디리 센잠바 어디 셈지부 시디가라 신시기 남시 센도도 우마라기 버타고 다도 순고였어래 잘기 제바남 니기 강라 미는 나오님베 군시 라 제징스 소기긴 남자 민제베 넘버 리바점기 머술당 레벨 렐덴진 젠란다 제바 너디 쫓바 남니 두바이긴 넘버 쉐바스타 센잠바 너디 쫓베 센잠 센잠발라이니 가르사 룽기지랑 센잠바다 리비지랑 센잠바니 예베나 리비진다 센잠베야 남지 투두 마고와 디요 예 진시긴 남시 데고래 어다티 선잠베 군시 자고에 가르치제 두고도 삼하자 참모 임발 군시데 롱만된 자고래 샘 참모 자고래 선잠베 인디가라 고모 템포 시부지래 지제네 군시 자고도 수투바래 어다 두스 때도 강가 시거래 가서든 저대 레벨 렐된 지기 심기 균 가서든 줘봐 두째 누리 남기 원에 token barwar tupsos token barwaza dada levi karsa kongen zegore token barwade levi shantar kishida levi ju karsa
Inda Quran chede ko legden
le o token barwa levi ledenjen
ba bi bak
ti kunjil tana kaza ge phumpola sen tape 다이어 점당 센지 제여 리린 중고반 줍출 조베세 다이어 쌀닝 예페 요파 괴기스 다이어 던 제다기 개버지 그 지시거래 다이어 시드 제여 강라 제기 취지는 되네 따고 걸어 다 다이어 시단 제여 제대다 아니 가제 마랑주 셈기 균데 간사게 친시 자고에 간지 따존짤나 니기요 바지다 덴디기 찌기 셈기 균 간사게 친시 자고래 때마다 우마 탕교에 있나데 간사데 풍부지암 말라 토비 나세 숨도아 풍부지암 나세디가라 다 가래 자고래 가르사와래 다 zume la zugi pumbu me inzang pumbu ji twazamlat kansa seta ndobada zugam zonde jina pumbu nga twazam jila kansa se taora maso ko tatun tane nye gwaji yo marze sungor ta tiri uma tangyo ina
Continuing with the reading 121, the actual techniques for establishing the view of selflessness have three aspects: how to determine the selflessness of persons, how to determine the selflessness of phenomena, and how, in dependence on these, persons and phenomena appear like illusions. How to determine the selflessness of persons? To begin with, this concerns recognition of what the basis, the person is. So basically, trying to find out what is person, who is person, where is person. All Buddhists agree that the focal object of the innate conception of an quote and unquote I is the person. For some, here comes the interpretations by different school of thoughts. Who is I? Who is self? So different school has a different interpretation on that. For some, such as the followers of the hero tradition, the particularist, the focal object of the conception of the person is the five mental and physical aggregates. So some school says that five aggregates, when they are together, that is where I or self or person is. For others, the person is only the mind, and some school says that when we say person or self, it is just the mind, not the body or other. All mind only proponents of mere consciousness, who assert the existence of the mind basis of all consciousness. And some school, this mere consciousness, it's a sub-school of the mind-only school. And in their interpretation, they come up with one kind of extra, consciousness, which what they call mind basis of all. So they think that, mind basis of all, which according to their interpretation is very subtle and neutral, and they think that it's very kind of something stable that exists, kind of continuously. And so they point to that as a person or self. Those proponents of mere consciousness who do not assert the collection of eight consciousnesses, the followers of the Master Bhava Vivek, the middle way inherence validator, as well as Sutra followers posit the sixth consciousness, the stream of mental consciousness. As the person, the Master Bhava Vivek established his assertion that the person is the mind stream by means of both scripture and logic in his blades of reasoning. And some says, like Bhava Vivek, that consciousness, the person is nothing other than just a mind stream. It's not body, neither the actual mind itself. All of them assert that the person is a mere imputation imputed to the mental and physical aggregates, and that its representation must be something substantially existent. So all of this school, which all here means other than middle way consequent school, when they come up with identifying what person is, they imputed it on something, whatever that is, and that something is something kind of what we call it a substances. It's an entity. So in their understanding, if something is imputed, it must be findable. When you try to find the meaning on that object, it must be findable according to all this lower school of thoughts. This is because when its existence is being posited by valid cognition and the imputed object is sought, it must be findable. For if it does not exist due to its own characteristics, it cannot exist at all. So according to these lower schools, if something is not findable, what they say is that it doesn't exist then. However, that is not the case with the high school of thought, middle way consequent school, the school that which our philosophy is based upon. And as you know, in the high school of thoughts, middle way consequent school, when they say what is I, who is self or person, they say that I or self or person is merely a designation or imputation or name given upon either five or either four or five aggregates. So it is imputed given upon five or four aggregates together, and when you try to find it, it doesn't necessarily has to be findable. You don't need to find that in order to I exist. It is merely a designation. So that is how I is interpreted, or self or person is interpreted by middle way consequent school. So when we're talking about three realms: form, formless, and desire realms. For formless realms, there is no form, so therefore four aggregates. For desire and form realms, there are five aggregates, and therefore five aggregates. So I is merely a designation or name or label given upon either five or four aggregates. So it doesn't have to be something that's findable when you try to find out.
어다 디인두가라 그러듯이 이 거르다 가자가 지지 자산다 대주가 집 하고 다기나 좀 되나 빼 미세 좀 되지게 디 나로 조술 마스 마라마다데 세부시부여레스 그래서 좀다 타단 빼야버레스 아니 다 우마 탕규와 면제 다 우마 랑규바 면제세 거라 랑규베 롤노멜라 자자만 유랑은 놀루고는 두바지 고거다 란생 두바지 고고야다 코 따돈 살는 얘기지야 인자 그 군시다 셈다 되게 자과데 두바 이기 남시 자과데 유전대바 두고 와래 우마 탕교에 때그 둘 코너 일고 코너고는 두바지 땐니 켈링 거 말한생 두바데 땐니 켈말에 인자 그 민경 따였음 집하기 바다는 자제 제트분지 인자 두신 리거르 다데 순거르 인자 두센 접에서 다돈 짤니 예비 요바 거기 란생기 머두나 메빌루소 세 란생 머두바지 켈레인디 칼라 란생 두바다 덴버 두바니 가차치 네치 차인자 마탱규할 때 고고 말에 서스무레 다데 어머 랑기비 란생 두 덴버 두나 란생 두고 말에 가르소 덴버 두나 란생 머두고 말아 란생 두나 덴버 두고 말에서 순거래 덴버 두바다 란생 두바니래 깨버지네 란생 두고 그래 덴버 머두버래 추담제 데메레스 순거 되게 깨버자고 어때 인디가라 지다 우마 탱규에 바르 란생이 머두바 덴버 메도바 같이 내지도 자연도 어때 되게 깨버지 순거래 다들이 이니 소지쳐놨어.
Yes, so we'll take a break after this. If you want to look more kind of detail, this complicated kind of topic here, of how to identify and understand who is self or I or a person, more detail you can find in the 4 tenets or 4 philosophical school of thoughts of Buddhism. Different school of thoughts has, as we see briefly here, come up with a different interpretation of who and what is I or self. And for more detail, you can look there. But in general, as we said earlier, middle way consequence school being higher school, and then middle way autonomous school and lower. All lower school, as we see here, when they say something, this something exists upon imputation, or it must be findable. And however, there's a differences, kind of vocabulary or terminology that they use. They say that things lack true existence. However, phenomena or things has its own characteristics. One way of saying that, self-sufficient existence. They differentiate between these two words. So in middle way consequence schools, as we mentioned before, things exist, like a I or person or self exist, but it exists merely at the level of imputation. And when we try to find out and on the body or aggregate, it is not necessary that you should be able to find it. It doesn't have to be something findable like lower school of school says. So we'll take a break here. And after break, we'll continue with discussions.